By the way, Kamala Harris, can you imagine her in a debate with J.D. Vance? Oh, my God. He would just wipe the floor with her.
If Donald Trump hadn't so trounced Joe Biden that Joe Biden literally had to remove himself from the election, we would have gotten J.D. Vance versus Kamala.
God, and it just would have been carnage.
Bloodbath.
Just absolute carnage. Now, I will say, for Walz, I do think that the question is what each side was trying to accomplish tonight. So I think one of the things that Vance was trying to accomplish is what you guys are talking about, and what I talked about also, because of course I'm right, and that is he was trying to look softer to a broader audience. He was trying to soften that image from the sort of hard-charging guy who's on stage with people who are sometimes considered fringy, to move offline and into sort of the touch grass world. And I think that he succeeded admirably in that. But there was another thing on the table that he really needed to do that I don't think actually got done, and that was create a real perception that the Harris-Walz campaign is deeply radical. I don't think you came away from that debate thinking the Harris-Walz campaign is deeply radical. I think you came away from that debate thinking that there was a shocking amount of agreement on a stage for between Vance and Walz. They kept saying to each other, I agree with you, I would agree with that, except for, and so that was left on the table. In that sense, I think that Walz actually got away with one, meaning that I think that Walz had a dual purpose. His dual purpose was to cast JD and Trump as totally out of bounds. You could never vote for them. They're so crazy. And he failed in that. But I think that he did succeed in making himself and Kamala Harris appear to be viable, somewhat center-left candidates, as opposed to the radical communist that he probably is. I mean, again, he is a person who literally said just weeks ago that socialism is another form of neighborliness. That's crazy. Like, how does that not come up on the debate stage? And so in that sense, I think that, would that have radically changed the race? Probably not. And so I think that the first rule of a VP debate probably is do no harm. So you can understand why JD didn't get too aggressive, because he's figuring, okay, if I go overboard, if I punch too hard, there's going to be some backlash. I understand the strategy. However, it depends on how you think the race is going. If you think that Donald Trump is currently winning the race, perfect debate for JD. All you do is don't make waves, perform really, really well, be really articulate. If you think that Donald Trump is actually down in the polls right now, you got to take a swing, because Trump doesn't have another debate coming.
I so rarely disagree with you. But I'm going to offer up an alternative viewpoint, and that is this, that I have friends in Hollywood who are to the left of us on every single issue, who voted for Hillary Clinton, who voted for Joe Biden, who are strongly considering voting for Donald Trump in this election. Why? Well, because reality on the ground has asserted itself, because the country is markedly worse than it was in 2019, and because they see in Kamala Harris a sort of vapid, disingenuous character who they are afraid will actually be in practice what she appears to be. And because is that group of people, because of RFK Jr. giving independents an excuse now, or a permission, it's a better word, not an excuse, permission to say that they're pro-Trump, because Mark Zuckerberg has given people permission to say that Trump was badass when he stood up and said, fight, fight, fight in Butler, Pennsylvania, after he took a bullet through the ear. You're seeing this shift where people feel empowered to consider Trump in a way that even in 2016 they didn't, even in 2020 they didn't. But there is one group of people that Donald Trump still has a major problem with, and that is suburban women. He does horribly with them. They see him rightly as being very boorish. They see him rightly as being very crude. I'm not convinced that this, like every other VP debate that we've witnessed in our lifetimes, will mean nothing. I think that it very well could mean something. What it could mean is that J.D. Vance just gave that last holdout group of people permission to vote for Donald Trump. And you don't have to move them 7 points. You don't have to move them 20 points. There's a very narrow race. If you make a 1-2% change in that last holdout group of people who are so fundamentally, not fundamentally, but sort of constitutionally opposed to Donald Trump, if you tell them, no, we're reasonable, we're sensible, you can vote for us, you could have an enormous impact in the election. I think that's what J.D. Vance was trying to do. And I think that he probably rightly has concluded people already know they're radical and are already very worried about ascending them, which is why even people in Hollywood are saying out loud that they might vote for Donald Trump.
You may be right.
But there's one work that needs to be done. Maybe he did it.
To your point, Jeremy, with Trump, the man is a wrecking ball. And it is probably one of the greatest things about the guy. He's got other great features too, but he's just this wrecking ball that comes in. And J.D. Vance is not a wrecking ball. That's part of why he balances out the ticket. He is a scalpel. And he was surgically trying to carve out that little group that you're talking about. And I think he did it, in as much as it has any effect at all in the race. I think he's
to be seen.
I would have liked, I agree with all that, and that's obviously why on the abortion answer, it was killing me that he was taking such an apologetic, like an incessantly apologetic tone almost with that. I understand strategically why he did it. And I understand why he wasn't being aggressive. I think that was actually smart.
The man was literally wearing pink.
Right, yeah. and he did a couple of times, he even absolved Tim Walz of I think on immigration. He said, well, I know that you agree, but I don't think Kamala Harris, he doesn't agree on immigration. But what I would have liked to see maybe J.D. Vance do a little bit more is just challenge the premise on some of these questions, which doesn't have to be an aggressive thing, but whether it's climate change, he didn't challenge the premise of like, why are we talking about climate change on this hurricane? It's got nothing to do with it. Abortion didn't challenge the premise. Even the gun violence epidemic didn't challenge the premise. Child care, we're talking about the child care crisis. Well, the child care crisis is a crisis mostly because we have a bunch of people that are having kids and aren't married. And so get married and then have kids and stay married, and the child care crisis mostly goes away. Maybe on that last one, I understand why you didn't want to make that point in this environment. But on a couple of the other ones, I think, and he's obviously a really smart guy. It's like a strategic choice he made to not challenge the premise on some of these things. And I'm not sure if it pays off or not.
Well, you know what I really care about? I really care about my internet privacy. It's not because I don't want the world to know all my terrible, twisted secrets. I don't care. There's a far more important reason. Some of you may not know this, but I happen to be an elite gamer. Basically, every second I'm not on camera, I'm hitting clips and wrecking noobs online. Can you imagine the physical and virtual danger I would be in if all of my online adversaries knew my true identity? Well, that's where ExpressVPN comes in. When I use ExpressVPN, these tech companies can't see my IP address at all, so my identity is anonymous. It's not only the very best for online privacy, gaming online with a VPN can minimize lag and enhance your connectivity when you're pwning the noobs. Whether you play on PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, Switch, PC, or phone, ExpressVPN has you covered. But I want you to know, ExpressVPN is not just for the geeks and nerds. If you're not protected, big tech companies can track what you're searching for, the videos you watch, and everything you click. Ben, you don't play games. What do you think of ExpressVPN?
What do I think? It's incredible. ExpressVPN is great. ExpressVPN, first of all, really easy to use. I mean, one button, you click it, you download it, you click it again, it's now on, you don't have to worry about it ever again, and it doesn't slow up your connection, which is the thing that I care about because I'm also anonymously online destroying Drew while I play games or something.
I knew it. It's time to take action and defend your rights. Take back your privacy at expressvpn.com/backstage. Visit the link to get an extra 3 months of ExpressVPN service for free. Again, that's expressvpn.com/backstage. expressvpn.com/backstage to protect your data today.
What I love the most about that ad read, I mean, other than the money that will undoubtedly come my way, is that most people watching the ad assume that you are joking about being a gamer.
I know.
And they probably even assume that you're joking about Ben not being a gamer. And if they only knew the truth.
It's all true. Yes.
One of the things that I think is sort of amazing about everyone praising JD's performance, and again, I agree. I gave it a 10 out of 10, not a 9 out of 10. I think it was strategically brilliant. I think he did an amazing job with it. The agenda that he is pressing in that debate sounds, with the exception of being harsher on the border, like compassionate conservatism from 2000. It does. I mean, hate to break it to you, but every element of that agenda sounds like compassionate conservatism from 2000. What if we do more childcare? What if we restructure the healthcare environment so as to make healthcare easier and more available? What if we do peace through strength? I was informed that Reaganism was dead. I was informed that we were past the age of Ronald Reagan, and yet there I was, sitting there and listening to the exact slogan from the Gipper himself, peace through strength. Despite all of the radical changes that have supposedly broken upon the Republican scene, it turns out that except for some trade policy, perhaps, and the border, again, both of those are important things. I agree with one actually on immigration. I kind of disagree on some of the trade policy stuff. Except for that, sounds a lot like kind of the Republican agenda for my entire lifetime. And in fact, the Republican agenda that was actually largely dissociated from in 2010 with the Tea Party. And there's a lot of big government talk. I understand that a lot of this is being done because a lot of it's electioneering, and I understand you want to win one of the things that Trump did, and it was a smart political move, although it broke my heart as a fiscal conservative, is when he said there would be no restructuring of the entitlements. And basically, anybody who says that, we should just know, okay? Republican, Democrat, anybody who says there's no restructuring of the entitlements is lying to you. They're all lying. It's not true. There will be restructuring of the entitlements, or we're going to go bankrupt. There will be either a massive increase in taxes, a massive increase in inflation in order to pay off our national debt that we will have to use in order to pay off the entitlements, or a massive restructuring of the entitlements. There is no choice. It's just a thing that's going to happen. With that said, they're all lying about it. But, you know, again, we've heard so much about the Make America Great Again movement and how different it is in a wide variety of ways. But in terms of just actual on-the-ground policy, it kind of looks a lot like John McCain circa 2008.